was your pivotal moment in your career when you realized your work could revolute drug delivery?
Well, I don't, that probably didn't happen overnight, but I did make this discovery back in 1976 that you could take tiny particles and use them to deliver large molecules, and that had never been done before. And that was actually the first time RNA or DNA had been delivered from tiny particles and other large molecules. It was a paper we published in Nature. So I thought it was important. Of course, the things that I probably thought it was important for at the time, like insulin, probably didn't come to pass, but I thought you could deliver anything that way. And of course, that would lead to many different new therapies, including much later on, obviously, the delivery of messenger RNA.
No, absolutely, absolutely. Now, how did your my other question is, how did your collaboration with Judah Folkman at Harvard shape your vision of tissue engineering?
Well, so that was kind of indirect. I was a postdoc with Dr. Folkman. That's where I actually did that early work I just mentioned.
Hmm.
And I got involved in a lot of polymer things and also isolating the first blood vessel inhibitors, angiogenesis inhibitors. But one of the people in that lab that I met and became friendly with and collaborated with was Jay Vacanti. And Jay, like Dr. Folkman, was a surgeon. Jay actually became a transplant surgeon. And it must have been, about 1980 that Jay, he was actually doing liver transplants, and he asked me, would there be a way to actually make tissues and organs from scratch? And really, it was working with him that Jay Vacanti, that we came up with what later would be called tissue engineering. Other people obviously contributed as well.
Absolutely, 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 Dr. Langer. My other question now is, what inspired you to become an engineer? On this show, it's very important. Yes, at the same time, people have achieved so much, but it's always nice to know what inspired you and how you started your career and what gave you the passion to continue.
Yeah, well, I mean, I wanted to do something that would help people. Working in Dr. Folkman's lab, studying how blood vessels grew to tumors, to me was a way to do that. And Dr. Folkman, he kind of believed anything was possible, which was great for a young scientist like myself to see. So, and I could see if we could stop if we could stop blood vessel growth into tumors, that might be a big deal someday. That might lead to new treatments for cancer, which it has actually, many treatments. But it was a continuum of seeing that research could do a lot of good for people.
Absolutely. Now, what was your most surprising application of your drug delivery systems that you never anticipated before?
Sure. Well, I mean, of course, the delivery systems evolved. And we made obviously different ones. But certainly, I did not know, as an example, one of the things that could be traced back to that 1976 work was the COVID vaccines that have been used all over the world. And that actually uses small particles to deliver messenger RNA.
Right, right.
I
And what
certainly would
part?
not have anticipated that in 1976. Nobody knew about COVID-19 until 2019.
Now, it's good that you mentioned about COVID-19. The reason I want to talk about that more is many millions of people at the time of the pandemic were really worried about their lives, etc. But at the same time, they were very concerned about taking the vaccine when it came to different vaccines, etc. Can you explain in terms of why you think this happened? Obviously, at the same time, COVID-19, was a huge epidemic. Can you explain what really happened?
Well, I think in America, I mean, people, and India, wherever, I don't know enough about different countries, but in America, people were dying. I mean, ultimately, probably millions of people died. And, and at least in the beginning, people were so afraid of this that when the vaccine was available, there'd be lines at the pharmacy in different places for people to take the vaccine. So there was no question early on I think that, at least for a lot of people, they took the vaccine and wanted to take it. Later on, I think that as people examined things, there's certainly some people that didn't feel that they should be compelled to take the vaccine. That's so that would later become an issue, and I understand that. But and then there's some people that don't believe vaccines work. But if you look back at the year 20, you know, 2020 and 2021, I mean, people were just frightened of COVID. I mean, so I at least in America, wherever I went, at least, and whether it would be Florida or Massachusetts, people would be driving 100 miles to go to a pharmacy to get a vaccine. Later on, of
Absolutely.
course, things might change, but that's how it was in the beginning.
Absolutely, Dr. Langer. Now, what advice, I think is very important as well, is clearly you're a pioneer of your industry. At the same time, you've done incredibly well in your career. What advice would you give to young scientists out there that want to make a similar impact in biotech?
Well, I think it's important to just dream big dreams rather than do incremental work just to do secure things, to dream big dreams, dreams that you hope will change the world and make it a better place. That involves taking risks sometimes, but I think it's worth it.
Absolutely. Now, how do you also select the problems you tackle? What makes a challenge worth your time? When you see something and you think that's something that I need to act on immediately, what's something that inspires you or gives you a tackle or gives you a challenge to your time?
Well, big problems, problems that can make a big difference in the world.
Hmm.
We're doing a lot with the Gates Foundation, for example, to create new medicines for the developing world. It could affect billions of people. And obviously, the things that we did, with, not just COVID, but cancer and heart disease. I mean, we've worked on all those things, more from a fundamental standpoint, but they've led to theory, to therapies and patents and companies that, have affected, according to different sources, billions of people around the world.
Is there a cure for cancer, Dr. Ling? I know there's a lot of medicines out there. My mother had breast cancer, and she actually survived. But is there a cure to cancer?
Well, certainly not yet. I mean, and I think it's not simple because cancer is just not one disease. There's many different types. Like you said, your mother had breast cancer. That's different from pancreatic cancer. That's different than brain cancer. So, but people are working on a lot of, I think, interesting new therapies. One of them involves messenger RNA vaccines. Another are engineered cells called CAR T cells. Another is molecular glues. So there's a lot of interesting and important work going on. And certainly, I think progress has been made in terms of treating cancer.
Do you think we'll ever get there, Dr. Langer?
Well, I think at some point what you'll see is cancer being more like heart disease, that you can really arrest it and so forth. But I hope someday we will. I think someday probably we will, but I don't expect that to happen soon.
Absolutely. Now, my other question now is artificial intelligence. AI has been implemented around the world in certain governments, in all different institutions. How do you think, or how do you see the world changing in terms of artificial intelligence that's going to be used or will at some point be used in biotech?
Well, I think it's already being used in biotech. I mean, artificial intelligence is very good when there's a lot of data. There's also a lot of hype, but if there's a lot of data, I mean, you can do great things with artificial intelligence, make predictions about things that you might not be able to do otherwise. We've actually used artificial intelligence in our lab and some of the companies I've helped start for over 30 years. But the first requirement is that you have a lot of data. We more recently, for example, we one of the companies we started, Vivitex, we've created gastrointestinal tracts in vitro, like on a chip, and we can use that to do thousands of experiments to see whether we can increase the absorption of different possible drugs. And in fact, the company Vivitex, they have a $2.1 billion deal with Novo Nordisk just to do come up with an oral delivery system for GLP, which is a large molecule. That's the weight drug. But artificial intelligence keeps telling you when you get a whole bunch of data, well, what should the next set of data be? And after you get that data, what should the next set be? So that's what we did in that company, and we've done that a number of times.
And as an engineer, Dr. Langer, you will obviously have your thought process and your opinion about artificial intelligence. I ask many people around the world what their thoughts are in terms of, is it a necessity or is it a good thing or a bad thing? Now, obviously now it's been implemented in numerous of industries. Some people say it's good. Some people say it's not a necessity at this moment. Do you think it's a necessity, or do you think, in your opinion, it's needed?
Well, I think it depends what you're doing.
Hmm.
I think it's extremely useful at accelerating things that you're doing in
Hmm.
situations where there's a lot of data or a lot of information.
Hmm.
Like, I mean, if, for example, if you were writing a poem, sometimes we wrote poems for our children, and it can do it in seconds what I might take, many minutes to do. Same thing with the examples I gave you on high throughput testing. It can do things so much faster.
And also, and now going into your awards, you've been awarded both the National Medal of Science and the National Medal of Technology. How did these honors shape your sense of responsibility as a bio pioneer?
Well, I don't know that they per se I mean, I got them later in my life.
Hmm.
I wanted to do good for the world, good for the country, and it
Hmm.
was nice for me to see that two different presidents of the United States would give me an award for that.
Hmm.
I think it more just shows that the United States valued that kind of work, and that was a good thing, kind of as a role model.
Hmm. Now, with over 1,600 papers and 1,400 patients, how do you maintain creativity amidst such a vast body of work?
Well, I mean, I have great students and postdocs, and it's kind of easy. I feel with really great people working with me. I think the environment's just and MIT is a good place. The environment's very stimulating.
Absolutely. Now, in terms of climate, I want to go into more climate change. Climate change is a real, well, I don't know if it's a disaster, Dr. Langer, but it's definitely a worrying situation, especially in Europe at the moment. In Europe, it is extremely hot, but it's not hot in a sense where it's enjoyable. The United Nations, I think, General Secretary came to London recently and said this is. I think there was a climate change action week, and he said this is becoming an issue. What's your thoughts on climate change?
It's an issue. It's a long range issue, and it's important to pay serious attention to it, to do research on it. I mean, I mean, just because something's hot in a particular week, I mean, I don't know that per se is a concern, but certainly overall, it is a concern, and there's a lot of good people working on it.
Absolutely. Now, what do you see as the next frontier in biomaterials? What problem do you still want to solve?
Well, there are many, but I mean, one is certainly what you asked earlier about tissue engineering. We've been able to make new skin for burn victims, new blood vessels for wounded soldiers, but there are many other tissues and organs you'd like to make well, including your heart, your brain, all kinds of things. Also, we'd like to be able to make them in vitro, like in a test tube, so that you could do the high throughput kind of drug testing that I mentioned, and discover things maybe much faster than you could have earlier.
Now, how does your work at MIT differ from your ventures in commercial biotech space, and also in terms of what unique freedoms do you have in academia?
Well, a couple things. I mean, the research, what we do at MIT is what I'd call research. What we do at the
Hmm.
companies is some research, but a lot of it's development. We take those discoveries that we might have made at MIT or other people did, and then we want to turn them into products, not just understanding, not just patents. Products means you have to do manufacturing, you have to do clinical trials. So that's a giant difference. So that's kind of, so I think you draw the line on that account. Also, I think what people would say in academia, the currency is papers, scientific papers, knowledge, whereas I think in industry, it's going to be products and revenues.
And as the world faces pandemics, you never know what's going to happen in the future. How do you personally see your vaccine delivery technologies contributing to global health security?
Yeah, well, we've been doing a lot of work with the Gates Foundation on that. Just as one example, I mean, not well, maybe a couple, but already, I mean, the things that we've done have played an important role, I'd say, in a lot of infectious disease vaccines. I mean, they're used. That's part of the basis is nanoparticle drug delivery. But beyond that, working with the Gates Foundation, one of the things we've been doing is coming up with what I'll call self-boosting vaccines. So you'd only have to take the vaccine once, and you'd hopefully be protected for a very long time, perhaps the rest of your life. So, I mean, there are many things we're doing with the Gates Foundation, that I hope will be very important for the developing world.
Absolutely, Ms. Langer. Now, what ethical considerations guide your development of personalized medicine given its potential reach?
Well, I mean, the major thing is to just do good. I mean, you have to look at each situation on its own. But I mean, we're working on a number of aspects of personalized medicine, including personalized cancer treatments and other things. So, I mean, but what guides you is trying to help people.
And also, in my last couple of questions to you, Mr. Langer, if you could give one piece of advice to young people out there, young innovators entering biotech today, what would it be?
To dream big, dream big dreams that you hope will change the world. Don't give up easily.
Absolutely. And what's one of the hardest things that you're working on at the moment in terms of your projects, your latest projects, that you're finding difficult or something that you're trying to achieve?
Well, I don't know if I'd say difficult, but one of the things that we're hoping is Alice Stanton, who worked with me, and Lee Wei Sai. We've created these personalized brains in vitro on a chip, so to speak, and that's very exciting. I'm hoping that that we can learn from that, possibly things that will help in Alzheimer's disease, that will help in ALS and other brain diseases.
And do you also think schizophrenia can be cured?
I think anything eventually will be able to be cured. It's a question of how long and what types